Hi there. House of the Dragon executive producer and staff writer Sara Hess recently made comments in Vanity Fair responding to and clarifying remarks that the showrunners made in the recent Hollywood Reporter cover story, remarks they made about violence against women in House of the Dragon. And, I behind schedule because there's a backlog of a lot of interviews. I just made a big reaction to specifically that in my preceding video, so I'm skipping out of order here because this just came out today. That, like I said, I don't blame the showrunners for that they weren't in charge when all the Sansa rape and other stuff happened in Game of Thrones. That's the old show. I want to ask about the new show. And the specific comments they made, I don't know if they were taken out of context and they were clipped, but they were short, and this is a violent world, and we wouldn't want to whitewash that Martin wanted to show there's war rape, there's violence in marriage in it. But at the same time, I don't think they really maybe not them, maybe it's the way the article was edited, didn't really grasp this is the defining controversy of that show, and so many people are unwilling to watch again. This isn't something to be swept under the rug or treated as, oh, another background complaint. This was a lightning rod. And it was one part of the article, I felt the article handled it poorly on top of that. Not just what the showrunners said, but in the lines before that, it was written by James Hibberd, who's the Hollywood Reporter guy, and he actually said, the way he set it up, some fans criticized how Game of Thrones handled the violence against women inherent to the books and to the medieval setting, which is inspired by medieval Europe. And he doesn't even mention the Sansa thing. No, we are upset about that you threw out Sansa's storyline and replaced it with a rape thing for cheap drama. It was contrived the way you did it. Nothing was realistic about it. This is not reflecting the books because it's a change, and it's not the real society. And yes, it would be disingenuous to not have, like, war rape during the War in the Riverlands and the Dance of the Dragons, because that happens in every war. That's not what we're talking about. That's a deflection tactic. They deflect from that you made all these gratuitous scenes with, oh, well, it would be unrealistic not to do that. It's, by that logic, the argument of you can have someone get an axe buried in their head. That doesn't mean you spend 2 pages describing it in explicit detail, or have the camera zoom in on the gore of their smashed-in brains and linger there. That they were doing it for cheap shock value. So maybe it was how the article was phrased, because Hibberd tried to say that because he's the person writing the article. Next line, Casey Bloys, the HBO executive, said, we've learned a lot since then. We're more aware of it now. Which, he wasn't in charge either, so I don't blame that he said, we're more aware of these concerns now. But, like, the line after Hibberd was saying nothing was wrong with it, and the fans complained about how they handled it without saying what it was, specifically the Sansa thing, that this is really tone deaf. And I don't, maybe the showrunners said more than that, and I said the exact comments they made weren't even that weird of, they said we're going to pull back from it, but we're not going to remove it. Well, I guess there was enough backlash to that, because that, other news outlets then reporting on specific quotes from the longer article, that was starting to be a headline of people one way or the other saying, how are they handling sexual violence? And it brought up the whole controversy from Game of Thrones again, which, isn't going to go away. It'll be always lingering over this show. That was a defining problem with it. And, I'm just standing back, and it's weird seeing everyone react to it now. But they felt the need for Sara Hess to go not to the Hollywood Reporter, but to Vanity Fair to give a specific statement in reaction to that case of foot and mouth. Vanity Fair, article title, "No, House of the Dragon will not depict explicit sexual violence." They felt the need to clarify this after that other interview. Writer-executive producer Sara Hess provides clarification. I don't know if it's significant that they also had a female reporter on handling this, but they didn't even go to Hibbert at Hollywood Reporter to go, no, this is what we meant by it. They went to something else with someone else to clarify. And the article, right in the first thing, points out the epic fantasy series was often called out for gratuitous brutality, titillating, porn-esque shots, and on top of that, the Sansa rape particularly upset viewers. That whereas the Hollywood Reporter one was evasively dancing around the issue and then saying certain issues of violence against women, which were inherent to the era of titillating, lingering male gaze porn shots in the sexposition scenes, and on top of that, the invented rape stuff with Sansa by name. They didn't shy away from that. First paragraph here is spelling it out. Now again, I don't blame Sapochnik or Condell for what they said. Sapochnik just said, we're going to be pulling back on that. We're not going to be doing that. But, it still happens in war and in stuff. And what Sapochnik said was technically accurate. That this is an unequal society where it is normal for men to marry women who are young enough to be their daughter. For a 40-year-old man to marry a 20-year-old woman, and it's it's an arranged marriage, so it's kind of a coercive relationship. It's not rape as such, it's just an unequal arranged marriage, as well as the assault stuff later. So I don't think Sapochnik was wrong for saying these things, but the way he said it, or maybe the way it was edited in the article, was too terse, that it didn't come off as, well, what are you doing? And at any rate, they felt the need to clarify this. So let me quote off what Sara Hess said. Let me go through this here. That whereas Sapochnik said, well, violence against women is still part of this world, and it is, Hess said, I'd like to clarify that we do not depict sexual violence in the show. We handle one instance of this off screen and instead show the aftermath and impact on the victim and the mother of the perpetrator. So we will not actually watch sexual violence. I think what our show does, and what I'm proud of, is that we choose to focus on the violence against women that is inherent in a patriarchal system. It's not assault as such, but it's the unfair violence against it from the system. That there are many historical or history-based shows, she says, that romanticize powerful men in sexual marriage relationships with women who were actually not of an age to consent, even if they were willing, that they were too young, they were coerced. We put that on screen with, the Alicent marrying Rhaenyra's father. We put that on screen, and we don't shy away from the fact that our female leads in the first half of the show are coerced and manipulated into doing the will of adult men. This is done not necessarily by those we would define as rapists or abusers, but often by generally well-meaning men who are unable to see that what they are doing is traumatic and oppressive because the system that they all live in normalizes it. It's less obvious than rape, but just as insidious, though in a different way. Goes on to say that viewers can rest assured that the act won't be shown in a gratuitous way. That rape does happen, and she does say that, but Hess says, in general, depicting sexual violence is tricky, and I think the ways we think about it as writers and creators are unique to our particular stories. End quote. As a woman creating in the traditionally male-run Martin universe, she certainly brings a unique and much-needed perspective. I've been yelling about this, and it's nice to just stand back and see other people take up the burden, that, yeah, the elephant in the room is that you did all this sexual violence stuff and that was controversial. There wasn't a single female writer for 5 years, which is stunning for an Emmy-level show. And they even try to go, it was a different time. This was unusual for 2015. And I've seen the cast and crew being asked about this on the red carpet, and I don't think you should really ask, the young Rhaenyra actress was asked, and she gave a good response. Don't put her on the spot about what's it like having female writers now, because they're not in a position to talk about that. But yeah, I really hope in the aftermath of season 1, more articles like this come out saying, dude, there was this whole gratuitous invented rape scenes controversy, and there weren't female writers. And this is a really impactful article. I've seen other major channels already reacting to this over Twitter, and I hope other people respond to it, that Sara Hess felt the need to come out and clarify this. We never get this. I don't even think Sapochnik and Kondal said something wrong. She reiterated it. She just said it a lot more delicately than as a side note in the Hollywood Reporter thing. Maybe it's because of the way the Hollywood Reporter framed it, of going, some fans were upset about how it's inherent to the medieval society. That may be because of the way that set it up, even though the quotes by the actual showrunners wasn't trying to defend the original show for those choices, just, yeah, that will still happening. Hess reiterated, yes, it will happen. Most of what they're doing is that young women who are, they feel, willing and consenting are still marrying much older men. It's an arranged marriage. They're forced into it. And that this is, these aren't even people you would call abusers, but it's still an unfair system. The one thing is, she mentions there is one example of, right at the beginning there, violence, sexual violence against women, and the thing we're focusing on is the aftermath of the victim and the mother of the perpetrator. I'm assuming that's talking about Alicent and her son Aegon II, because that happens in the books. They mention he's very handsy with the handmaidens, that he fathers a bastard child on one of the handmaidens in the castle, and we've heard through casting things, we've seen that they will depict that. Maddie Evans is playing this character, Deanna, who we found out was like a handmaid to and I don't know if that's going to be rape as such, or just she's not in a position to say no. I'm qualifying this, I shouldn't, like, powerful man having sex with a servant who is in no position to tell him no is, assault. And that she would get pregnant from it. And Alicent, we've heard this, that Alicent will yell at him and try to take care of the girl. But that they mention that in the books, that he fathers a bastard on one of his handmaids. And she says, we're going to have Alicent talking to the handmaid and have her yelling at Aegon about what he's doing. But we're not, like, going to have a scene showing when he did that. We're going to show the aftermath of it. So I think that's true to the books. I think it's handled well, and it's not even a focus. Sara Hess's focus here is on the unequal power dynamic in arranged marriages to much older men, who are even good men by their standards. It was nice. It's just, this isn't, it's still coercive, even if you don't think it is. So, a lot of thoughts to have from this article. I'm just reporting on it, but it's weird to see people directly addressing this, that there were weird... I really blame the way the Hollywood Reporter phrased it more than what the showrunners actually said, but that they felt the need and acted on the need to... Normally when stuff... Remember when there were controversies in Game of Thrones and their answer was, ignore it and it'll go away? Their response with this was, wow, people are reporting on the violence against women stuff, and some are treating it as flippant, some are, well, it is the books. They felt the need to send Sara Hess, of all people, their top-ranking female writer, co-executive producer, to go to a separate news outlet at Vanity Fair to go, I'd like to make some clarification to the Hollywood Reporter's interview with Hibbard, and go, no, we will not... Title, no, House of the Dragon will not depict explicit sexual violence. I don't know what to read into this behind the scenes. At the very least, it doesn't seem Hess was happy with the Hollywood Reporter article for the way it was phrased. I don't know, I can't add more to that, but it is a breath of fresh air to see this and to see her clarification and the things that the Vanity Fair interviewer says leading up to it. Of first paragraph saying, we are upset about the excess female nudity for titillation and specifically the Sansa rape controversy, and pointing out at the end, wow, this is up till now been a male-run World of Westeros TV franchise, and she is now a female writer remarking on this. And it's not towing the party line. I'm at a loss for words. Oh, I'm at a loss for words. Just, I don't know what more to make of this. I hope there aren't fighting behind the scenes, but most of all, I mean this, I'm interested in what all you guys have to say to make of this. Are things changing behind the scenes that they felt the need to make a reaction interview statement from Sara Hess? And what does this mean for, it's an ongoing issue, will be for years, of the elephant in the room that we don't criticize what the old show did, and now they really are saying, no, we will not depict sexual violence, we're not going to pretend that what happened was normal, and that you need to handle this well. So I don't think there was something wrong with what Condell and Zapotchnik said. It was a brief statement. I think in the real, interview they gave, it must have been a lot longer. You don't put that out as a 2-sentence, paragraph blurb in a longer cover story. That deserves its own separate article. And I think, Condell and Zapotchnik will be asked about this again. And generally I've seen they've had intelligent responses. And again, they were not in charge on the old show. I want to, hear, well, what are your thoughts on how you're handling race in the new show? Because that's how you are handling it. I want to hear how they are handling an unfair system to women in their show. And I look forward to their thoughts on it. And they are going to be giving a lot of interviews. But they felt the need to send Sara Hess to make a clarification statement in Vanity Fair about sexual violence. It won't be explicitly depicted in the show. What are all of your thoughts on this? I will try to respond to every comment.